not a huge one, like maybe there's a brand. I'll take it.
Yes, sir. Just a moment ago, when you were filming, you were like a 1 second delay for a while. Just one. Okay, then it went to 2 cars. I was counting my cars. And then it was 3 to 4.
Weather like this,
Yeah.
horrendous. Signal because it.
I just wondered, you know, I thought, well, that's the first time I've seen it that quick.
We had it last night too. The worse, the heavier the clouds, the worse the storm, the worse the cloud. And the satellite does the same thing. Yeah, because I can see it on here. Trying to one of these. Yeah. And I think it was going to that was all for it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, but anytime we have this, clouds are a major problem.
Yeah.
And we're on the Wi-Fi today, so we have 3 times the antenna power, but it's still a problem.
I'm in bed, it's raining.
I was down an hour.
They came over here, they filmed it last night. And I was just about to go to bed because I learned extra everything.
Do what?
Seaboard coastline, leading the northbound OMD to that Wahatchee.
Everything's over there. But us.
But us. Yeah, well, Warren was kind enough to tell us that this morning too.
Yeah.
We're in the wrong place.
Yes.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks for being with all of us here at the River City Rail Club Rail Fan Get Together in Decatur, Alabama. And yes, if you said it's raining there, you would be absolutely right. So, Jesse and Robert and everybody's here, Brian's here. So we got the tents out. We haven't had the tents up since last summer, I don't think. And we've got the tent up on the back of the Production 6. And yes, for those of you that joined us last night, we did get rained out. When the rain went sideways, and I looked at Jesse and I said, I think we're in trouble. He says, yeah, I think you're right. So, but we didn't have the heart to leave last night, and Jesse did catch the 911 safety training train for Norfolk Southern last night. Now, we stayed till, I don't know, midnight 30. We stayed to the middle of the morning, and when it came through, and I'm going to have him show you a picture here if he's got one. When you see it, it looks like it's going through fog and rain. And the reason it looks that way is because it is. Lots of rain, lots of fog. Now, Mike stayed inside the truck. But Jesse, he sacrificed to get us all the fantastic shot last night that we waited for quite a while. We're sorry we had to fold up last night, but that was it for choices. So we're under the truck umbrella. We've got the tents up. We are trackside. And we're just going to kind of hang out. Fill y'all in here in a little bit. But for the moment, get settled, get situated. If you haven't had breakfast yet, as soon as we get a break in the rain, we'll talk a little bit more about exactly where we are. But welcome to the next crossing here with Casey and I and everybody else.
99% of the flights
And that is the historic Decatur Depot. Train history in this town is incredibly rich and goes back to the mid 1800s. We have NS and CSX tracks that join together here. We're on the Memphis East End and CSX line. Right on the other side, literally in front of the depot, the lines come together, and about 8 or so blocks down, they go across a vertical lift dam. And if y'all haven't seen that video, we did that a month or so ago. Caught a few trains coming across there. It was an incredibly beautiful shot. It was in the evening with the sunset behind us. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do. We hope we can get a little time over there today. And this morning, that moment y'all have been waiting for, we're going to see if we can have coffee trackside. Now, I know some of you told me you can't do that, Mike. And I know some of you said, well, I don't know why you can't do that. So, anybody trackside, let us know. As you can tell, we are not in Chattanooga. And from all the calls that Jesse's had this morning, every exciting train known to mankind must be over in Chattanooga this morning. But, as you know, it's like fishing. We got fish too. They're under the boat. We just got to get one of them to bite, and we'll see what it is. But there is the Decatur Depot.
About 3 weeks ago, they had the double heritage come through on Fleet Highway 26. 126 at work in Nashville.
As you notice, on that street, right there, let me zoom in here for you. See that great big concrete hump in the middle of the road? That's because where we are is a horn-free, no horn, no blow, no zone. Meaning, the gates and lights you will hear and see, but you will not hear any train horns at this crossing here on Vine Street. And that great big hump in the road is so that if you're sitting about where that blue truck is right now and you decide you want to go around the gate, you can't get up over the hump. Well, in theory, nor would you want to anyhow. So that you can't get in front of the train thinking it's not coming because you haven't heard the horn yet. But boom, there is the train. So, track speed through here is about 25. And let's see if we can zoom in on that sign, our junction sign. There. Our bungalow sign, Vine Street. And then across the way is a small transfer yard. You see the tracks expand out. There's also a little collection of everything over there, from old railroad ties, new railroad ties, a little bit of everything. Some cars over there waiting for transfer. One moment you can come over here, that's all full. The next moment, it's a clean sweep from one end to the other. Don't know if we'll get any local activity, if any of those train crews work here on the weekend, as they will move cars in and out of that. There's another yard for CSX to y'all's left, just a little further south here in Decatur, a small yard. There's that truck that we saw unloading metal and what have you the last time we were here. There was a great big pile of it, and it's gone. And there's the NS track that makes the bend and goes to Memphis from here.
That was 12 minutes ago. I said, no way in hell.
And there's the two CSX tracks that make the bend and head on to Birmingham, Alabama. And there's the tents we were talking about. Robert and Jesse and everybody's here. Brian's here. We got folks everywhere this morning. And above you, the umbrella that you all watched fold up 3 times in the windstorm over in Bridgeport. And with the storm activity that we have and the cloud cover and what have you, our signal could be very challenged today. So kid, when you come on, QC could be a question on a mark. As you can see, Jesse has decided it's more fun underneath than the umbrella than it is not under the umbrella. He's also figured out traveling with me is not a quick process.
This one should have yesterday.
My wife was
And that guy says, "Oh, I can make it, I can make it." Yes! No dent on the hood of his car. And remember, no horn. Looks like somebody was going to write a note to Cowan, but they ran out of paint and they got stuck at cow. Didn't make the AN. And our northbound will go across the river, over the bridge that we talked about, and make his way on up to Athens and continue all the way up to Nashville. Now, if you are an optimistic person, you will look right over there and say, hey, Mike and everybody, it's sunny and bright. And I hope you're right. Because if it'll stop raining, we're going to find out if we can make coffee trackside. You leaving us?
Yeah, I'm going to try to go see if I can catch up with my brother over here in Huntsville and see if I can't talk him into taking me to lunch.
Just talk him into coming over here and taking you to lunch.
I tried to talk to him earlier, but his wife had a few hundred things for him to do.
What is it? Happy wife, happy life, happy house.
Yep, I'm not sure she's ever happy though.
Well, we'll keep that a secret. Well, I guess we can't now that Robert just told everybody. Robert, you be safe, sir.
Okay, I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, you know where we'll be. Jesse says we can't leave till 1 a.m. Do what? I'll bet you if that 9/11 train came back, we'd be here till 1 a.m. Yeah, I got a smile out of him. Our next train is going to be number 287. NS 287 coming across the river, I'm guessing. Coming across the river. And yes, y'all got excited. The sun came out and then it started raining again. But as soon as it stops long enough to open this tailgate, we are going to know if we can make coffee trackside. We've been waiting all week for this moment. We know the coffee pot works because we tested it this morning, inside in the dry. We even washed it at the Marriott this morning. Is that a surprise? Drive careful, Robert. Hey, light. Camera action. You heard Jesse say it. Camera action.
Light, camera, action.
Oh, excuse me. I missed the light part. Yeah. Light. Camera. Action. 1 minute I'm hot. Next minute I'm cold. If I put the rain jacket on, I'm hot. If I take it off, I'm cold. Gotta be a plan B.
Mm-hmm.
Lighter jacket. Here on Rail Moments, we do pretty much carry a complete fashionable wardrobe for whatever weather we're going to have. CSX coming at us. Brian, what did you say our number was?
This should be E321. That's a full grade.
E321, and you heard his words. It is a coal drag. Is that what you said?
Yeah, empties.
Bunch of empty coal cars. A coal drag. I like that. Just drag a bunch of empty cars along. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tried to spell Brian. They didn't do a very good job. Maybe that's Brian in another language. And there's Tubby. Whistleboard Productions. Hello, Jonathan, and yes, sir, it is a no train horn zone at this crossing. Now it's funny, to the left of us, there's blow that horn all you want, but not at this one. So therefore, there will be no horn salutes today. And there's Tubby again. Tubby was busy. There's old Ted Toe, followed by Tubby's Toe. And a little more Tubby. And you decide, are those sleeping dogs or strange fish? Tubby got kind of decorative there. Tubby. Very expressional on how he has done his name so many times on this train, each one a different design. There's a simple outline of Tubby. And Tubby's chasing Accra. Here comes Tento again. Tento again, and some more Tubby. Jonathan, this is a very busy crossing. We usually have a great time here. Now, I want y'all to stop and think for a moment how long that train was. As Brian said, it's a cold drag. How long that train is, how many times Tubby rode on that train. And Tubby rode up there, Tubby rode down here, Tubby rode all the way across. Each Tubby was different. And he had that little puffy, what was that movie with the marshmallow guy at the end? Ghostbusters. He had his own Ghostbuster symbol, and all of them were in different colors. Now stop and think about that. Tubby's on his front porch, wherever all these train cars are. He says, you know, I'm just kind of bored. I think I'm going to grab about, 100 different cans of paint, so I get one of every color, and I'm going to spend however many hours painting my name with my trademark symbol on that coal train. That just amazes me. Obviously, he's not married because his wife would never let him have that much time at the train tracks, nor spend his whole paycheck on paint. So, we're here with the River City Club. Huge thank you for inviting us over today, Caleb and everyone in the group. And for the moment, we can see a small, tiny spot through the clouds where there's blue. Dragging right behind it is a dark spot, larger than the blue spot. And everybody says, oh boy. And now it's time for that magic moment, you guys. Moving to the back of Production 6, we're going to see if we can make coffee trackside. The pod is in. Well, it lit up. waiting. Well, it appears my idea does not work. Well, for the moment, we're just going to go back to the track, and I'm going to look at this for a second. There's a funeral taking place today. There at the church. Uh-oh, we got noise, guys. Hey. Look at there. What do y'all think? It worked. Whoa. That's pretty exciting. Let's go back trackside. And it is now an incredibly exciting morning right here in Decatur, Alabama. And while we have a break in the rain, let's talk a little bit about where we are. I'm going to zing you on over here to the Decatur Depot. Well, not quite so much. There. And again, a special thank you to Caleb and everyone in the River City Rail Club. Thanks for having us on over today for our Rail Fan event. And that is the Decatur Depot, and built in 1905. And that depot was built by the Southern Railway here on Vine Street, where Jonathan pointed out earlier, no horn, because it is a no horn crossing, no horn zone where we are. As we talked earlier, Decatur is a very historically rich town in railroad history, and you can trace it back to the early 1800s, the 1830s, where the Tuscumbia, Cortland, and Decatur Railroad first started railroad activity here in Alabama. And at one time, yes, there was passenger service here with the L&N, and Southern then became the Southern Railway Company. And we are at junction point here with NS, CSX. There is a small transfer yard here. And CSX from the left travels down to Birmingham, and then to the right goes on up to Nashville. NS, coming from the right, would be Chattanooga, Huntsville, and Stevenson, Bridgeport, that trip on over to here, and then up to the Sheffield Yard in Memphis, and that is the Memphis East Line. And as I said, there's a small transfer yard here in the middle, and to the south of us, the CSX Oakworth Yard. And then after the trains go past us, about 10 blocks or so that way, there's a vertical lift bridge where both NS and CSX trains come together on single track and go over Lake Wheeler. And that bridge was built by Southern Railways. And with that, as you can hear, brings you to the next train. Eugene.
3 miles south.
Well, it looks like everybody's getting ready to roll out.
Got an I-129 just outside of Athens. He's a southbound.
That's good news. Athens is around the corner.
Yeah. I have an M521 later. It's a mixed freight. He's at the milepost 222. He's still a ways up there. So it's 2 something.
I'm guessing he's went down on the bridge
Oh, okay.
where you can go up over the track. There's 2
Yeah.
pedestrian bridges over, and I'm guessing, knowing him, he has wandered all the way down there. We have lost Jesse, and since we know, as all of you guys know, Jesse always aspires for that one-of-a-kind shot there on Whistleboard Productions. And we think he has wandered all the way down towards the river where 2 pedestrian bridges that cross over the tracks. And boy, can you get some incredible shots there. Now you have to stick the camera through the steel commercial grade fencing that they have so that you can't jump off the bridge or throw things down at everybody. But everybody has cut a small hole on each side of those pedestrian bridges so you can stick the camera lens through. So if I was guessing, that is where we have lost Jesse at. And we have a little fella that just joined us. Let's see if we can get him on here. Oh, he's moving faster than I can.
Yeah, he just flew away.
Oh, there he went. He was camera shy. Sorry, you guys. And there's back to our early 1900s depot. And Eric, you just got to find the right partner, and then the marriage is not like a funeral. But if you find the wrong one, yep, there is a lot of comparison. And over here's our transfer yard that we talked about earlier. Last time we were over here on a Friday, this was a busy little place. They just came and went and came and went. It was like watching the ants raid the picnic basket before Yogi Bear got there. See, why can't I hear that? I need a radio upgrade. And a radio I can figure out on my own.
160.845. That's the frequency it's catching around.
168.45. I don't have that one. But that would be my problem. Oh, let's hope that that music does not pick up on this channel, because if it does, we could run the risk of copyright infringement. And then we would have sat here all day just to watch it rain. All right, speaking of rain, it's back. So now it's time to figure out which coat to put on. Shut the tailgate back up to keep everything dry in here. And now that we know that you can make coffee trackside, and it works for all of you non-believers in Mike and his great idea to make coffee trackside, we have achieved the goal. We now can go any place on the planet as long as Production 6 can get there. We can connect to any satellite. We can broadcast live and have our morning coffee. Now that is how you rail fan. And the cool part is we get to do it hanging out with you guys. And since this is a railfan event, oh, here comes some guests. That's Pigeon 1 and Pigeon 2. Pigeon 3 just landed, but he's a little bashful. He went to the far left. The other one says, hey, wait for me, I gotta catch up. Well, it says, nope, not gonna wait. You wanna catch up, go faster.
Last I looked, you got more time on the CSX and South.
I wonder what pigeons eat other than corn. It's a pigeon triangle. Uh-oh. Here comes another one. Nah, they're not going to come over with these.
Fans, viewers, it's a little wet out here in Decatur, but you know what? As a dedicated rail fan, it ain't. We've already seen 10 trains so far. There's 2 I didn't film, but as far as this didn't film. Of course, you know, nearby rail moments. Live stream as usual. If you guys get a chance, be sure to subscribe to this channel. And on this day, well, it's a little bit of a sad note, you know, especially if you're here in Decatur. At times I used to make it busy here. There was a gentleman by the name of David Breland who recently passed away. David was actually the curator at the museum here, who, anytime you enter the door, always gave the warmest greeting. Nicest gentleman I ever met. He was surely pleased. They had his funeral nearby here, so you know, hey, let's rail fan, you know, his memory. You know, that's the way I look at it. Like I said, you know, thank you for tuning in. Like I said, we're waiting on more. We've got 3 more CSX trains on the way. As far as NS, well, Supposedly I was told about this parade, but hey, it remains to be seen, so stick around. Speaking of, something just sounds sick.
You think?
Look cool. Some of that local. his ticks. Yeah, this is. Past here, there's First Bridge. That's where he's not.
That's where the ladybug goes. That's where the ladybug goes out.
It's nice. I've been here since for 7:30 this morning. There was some other train I'm calling. Can't put in the trees. Yeah. That's pretty good.
When you said you were here, I had to laugh. You got here faster than we did. We stayed here.
except the Yankee weather, we're supposed to have a yellow spot there last night. It's spotty, but it's not yellow.
This stuff comes this way, you'll be in trouble.
It's spotty.
Yeah, but about 1:30.
There he is. Well, that's one way to find out if there's a train coming.
Thank you for the poncho. It's
Here.
coming mighty handy. I wish I had it yesterday.
I thought you might enjoy that. Hi, you.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm great. That's really cool up there.
Found a little hole in the
I think
fence,
that's
did
like
you?
the oldest house right here in Decatur.
Yeah.
It's
I saw that and I'm like, that's really neat with the train going underneath in the bottom.
Yeah, it is.
You can see the signals. It's covered. Great little spot. But I wanted coffee, so I came back to plan. There's another guy up here doing the live stream too. Oh, who is it? Hold on. He's one of the guys up there.
It doesn't get bad when you get that 45. This
I'll get a K-cup too. And as you can see, we have a line of folks here today. We've got the tanks out. Jesse doesn't believe me that the coffee thing will actually work.
I never said that.
So, and I think you can
I
do
didn't
10
say
ounce.
that. Huh?
I think you can do 10 ounce in that cup. And I don't know if you, I think you have to hit power. It took it a moment when I did it. I actually thought the program wasn't going to work. But then, for it to, it may have to think for a second, but when it's ready, the sizes will flash. And then once the sizes flash, then you pick the size you want. And I think 10 ounce will fit in that cup you have.
I need to wake up. I don't have an offer. I'm sitting in my chair.
Yeah, 129 is just on the other side of the river.
Oh, okay.
And as you heard, Brian said 129 is just on the other side of the river.
Oh, I hope it was plugged in. Don't tell me you saw that for 8 seconds.
You know, things work better if they were plugged in.
My fault, I'm sorry. And you see the power button? Down there. Okay, now the light's lit.
Yeah.
You may have to wait a second for it to flash.
What do I have to do to make it see?
I don't know, you could try that. I had almost given up, and then it started flashing. So maybe you have to do the power, then the K-cup, then the flash, then the go.
Just like magic.
That's smart.
Like coffee.
Yeah.
See, for those of you that were non-believers, there's cup number 2. There's spoons in the door.
I was one of them last night.
We've been waiting all week to find out if we could do this or not.
We are out of here. We are straight liners.
How late did y'all stay out last night?
12:31. It was
I think
late.
like, yeah, it was before midnight.
Y'all got to 7:36.
He did. I sat in the truck. It was raining way too hard for me. I'll do a lot of things, but when it's raining that hard, I'll just give Jesse moral support. Now, one thing I think I'm going to learn real fast is a coffee pot takes a lot of power. Because that was the old Milwaukee saying, y'all are using a lot of juice. And since it stopped raining for a moment, back to the track. Now they say about 1:30 our time here, we are going to be wet with a capital W.
Maybe good time to break off.
Then the question becomes, do you pack it all up, put it all back out?
I hit the DD at 299. We're at 307, so he was 8 miles out. 8 miles out, which means he's probably a few miles out.
Was that 108.45 you told me earlier?
Oh, you're talking about the frequency? Yeah, it was 168.45. 160. Yeah, that'll be the one for the NS.
How cool.
That is awesome.
Everybody told me it couldn't be done. You want one?
Sure.
Look at that. I talked Brian right into a cup of coffee
Hey.
trackside.
You can't pass up a cup of
In a
coffee.
world where it can't be done, it can. Jesse's gonna. I'm gonna get you some more water.
Never pass up a good cup of coffee. Coffee or the scroll loud enough that way we can hear you. Okay, he's on.
The cups are up in the cab. I think there's some sitting on the dash. And the K cups are in the K cup compartment. And our next train is approaching. We're brewing some more coffee. Well, hello, Kentucky Street Productions. Welcome to Decatur, where we are awaiting our next train arriving from your right. And we have a break in the rain. Everybody's headed that way. Go down and get their next shot. Production 6. Got the umbrellas out, got the tanks out. What you looking for? What you looking for?
I was looking for the sugar and cream.
In there.
Oh, it is?
Here. I'm not sure what's in there, but look and see if there isn't there's sugar. What you don't use, put in there. And I think there's a packet. I'll go in there and look for you.
So give me some sort of drink when we get close.
You got the thing in?
Yeah, I got
We put one other in. Put one other in. Now we have to weigh more for it. Okay, you want full to the top? Or almost to the top? Okay. It's flashing. There you go. There you go. And the best right now it shows them fresh. Just double check. The Keurig is doing Keurig things, proving you can have coffee fresh trackside. Takes a little pre-planning. It's not like you rub two sticks together till they get hot. Hurry, Land Rover, hurry! Now, for the moment, and like I said, for the moment, it's not raining. So, y'all put your seatbelts on. We're going to take you out here so you can see a little more of the setup. Excuse the bumps there. Like I said, I do not know how long this plan is going to last, because as you can see, sun is not something that we have much of. But currently, it is a little bit light, or lighter than it was before. And depending who you ask, it's going to get wet again right here in Decatur. Now, while we're out here, we could talk a little bit about where NS splits off and heads on up to Memphis. And over this way is where the two CSX tracks go to the small yard that's here in Decatur, just to the south of us, and on to Birmingham. And yes, there's a caboose here, kind of tucked over there in the trees. 25 miles an hour. And then this is the transfer yard that we talked about, over kind of in the middle, where on the last time we were here, the activity during the day, we were here on a Friday, was non-stop all day long. And here's a look back. Now they consider the line here north-south, but there's a look back towards the bridge that we were talking about earlier. That's looking down the track here at the Decatur Depot. So I'm going to leave you all sit here for a moment. We're going to get a little reorganization done while it's not raining and kind of go from there. So, y'all listen for the next one. Hi, guys. How are y'all?
I was watching the last show. That was me. That was Kentucky.
And we are hanging out, waiting for our next one. Gonna leave you guys out here for a different view. Hopefully, before the rain starts back, we can get you a train out here just to kind of see the difference. Like I said, there's a huge, massive spot where you can rail fan from, hang out, lots of room. As you can see, lots of folks here today with the River City group. Caleb has invited us all over for a rail fan day. And there's the production 6 set up where we are blue, red, blue. And we've been filming underneath the tent there in the back of production 6, where we have discovered you can in fact have coffee fresh trackside. Yep, and there is proof right there. That was the last cup brewed just a little bit ago. So for those of you that told me, Mike, I don't think it can be done, Brian says it can. And that's our host right there with Brian. Brian is Train Nut Productions. And that's Caleb. Caleb was so gracious to invite us all over. And like I said, right now, we still have light this way, dark that way, and Jesse with Whistleboard Productions, we have darker and thunder over that way. And back towards the river. As you can see, there are 2 of those walkways over the tracks, covered, so you can sit up there in the rain if you want. And that is commercial grade fencing they have there on the side, but rail fans to make sure that there is a spot where you can stick your camera through that fencing right dead in the middle. There's about a 6-inch hole on both sides. And Jesse has made his way down there somewhere. And again, phenomenal shots. Not to mention, Jesse was out here last night with me. And it was rated too hard to talk Mike out of the truck. But Jesse shot the safety train last night. Right there at that crossing, in the fog, in the rain, in the wind, and lightning somewhere close by. Hopefully we can get him to share those pictures with you here in a little bit. So, while y'all are kind of taking that in, like I said, I got a little bit of housekeeping to do in case we have to pack and run, as in last night. And since we haven't repacked from last night, I'm going to do that while y'all kind of hang out by the track. right, everybody. I'm going to swing you all over here. As you can see, we've got super dark clouds rolling in. And y'all heard the thunder. And they're saying here in about 30 minutes, we're going to have yellow and red, depending on where the wind takes it. So we're going to go ahead and end the live now. We're not leaving Decatur, but we're going to get ready just in case so that we're good to go. So we will see you back here yet today in a little while. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and take cover as this one starts to come in. So from Casey and I and everybody here with the River City Rail Club and Caleb as our host, thanks for being with us. And we are going to be back after a while right here. I'm going to guess it's probably 2 hours, and then we'll see just how long we end up here. So, thanks for being with us this morning. Oh, we do have a horn. I'm going to keep packing. Let's see if he's coming this way or he's over in the yard. We do have horn. Horn and lightning.
Yeah.